Under this president, my friends, we are building again. We are investing in the United States of America again. We're seeing the fastest private sector wage growth that we have seen in this country in many, many years.
Vice President JD Vance talking just moments ago about the Trump administration's efforts to boost our economy during his visit to Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, and just a week after President Trump was in the state, also talking affordability. A new poll shows just about 1 out of 3, 31% of Americans approve of how the president is currently handling the economy. NewsNation's Hannah Brandt was there as the vice president was speaking. Joins us live now with the highlights of that speech, Hannah.
Yeah, hi, Nicole. That poll you just showed suggests the Trump administration has work to do on the issue of affordability. And we've seen, as you said, President Trump and his Vice President JD Vance in Pennsylvania just in the last couple of weeks to talk about this issue. And what we heard from the Vice President today is that he agrees that there is an affordability crisis. He says that that's something they inherited from the Biden administration. And he basically told the crowd, look, it's going to take some time to bring prices down. But he argues the Trump administration is making progress on this front. Now, his argument that it takes time kind of comes up against the political reality that we have the 2026 midterm elections next year. We know Pennsylvania obviously is a crucial purple state, and there will be a lot of focus on trying to win over voters in this region, but also across the country. I asked the vice president about that conflict between the fact that he says this is an issue that'll take time and the political reality that midterms are just next year. Take a listen to that conversation. Recent polling shows most Americans don't approve of how the Trump administration is handling the economy. I hear what you're saying, that it's going to take time to fix things, but the political reality is that the midterms are next year. Are you worried that affordability is a political liability for your administration and for Republicans?
Look, I'm not worried about the politics because I believe fundamentally in the wisdom of the American people. When we go out there and we tell our story that gasoline and energy got way too high under Joe Biden's administration, but we've lowered the cost of energy, the American people will understand that. The American people know that. When we go out there and talk about the fact that the affordability crisis that happened under Joe Biden's administration made a lot of Americans poorer and working every single day to put money back in their pocket, I think the American people will understand and agree with that. Of course, they're going to be the ones who make the final decision. But I feel very confident that if we keep wages high, we keep energy prices low, we keep on chipping away at the affordability crisis created by Joe Biden's administration, yes, I believe the American people are going to reward us because the American people are smart. They know Rome wasn't built in a day. They know what Joe Biden broke is not going to get fixed in a week. We got to stay with it. We got to keep on working on bringing good jobs and money back into the United States of America. And that it already has paid major dividends for the American people. It's going to pay a lot more in the year to come.
So the vice president urging patience on prices and affordability. And of course, the president was here to talk about this very issue just last week in Pennsylvania himself. But what struck me was what was different in their messaging and the fact that we heard the vice president lean on his background as someone who grew up in poverty in Ohio. He talked about how that kind of reflects on what he and the Trump administration are doing to bring down prices, and sort of made the argument that this is a relatable issue for him too. Take a listen to what he said about that.
I know what it's like for a woman who's trying to support a grandson but can't afford her prescription drugs because pharmaceutical companies are taking advantage of the United States of America. I remember what it's like when you have to choose between putting food on the table or getting the prescription that you need to stay healthy. And that is not a life that Donald Trump or I want for the citizens in the greatest country in the world.
But we are hearing sort of a mixed message from the Trump administration on this issue because they are making the case that things are improving. And when asked what grade he'd give the economy currently, Vice President Vance said he'd give it an A+++. That's sort of echoing what President Trump said in a recent interview about the economy, but sort of a mixed message from the administration when they're making the case that things actually are good in some cases right now, Nicole.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.